Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Administration Committee meeting to order. Clerk Kramer, could we have the roll call, please?
Alderman Ted Grady. Here. Alderman Rapella. Here. Alderman Nichols.
Here.
Alderman Taylor. Here. Alderman Sevenick. Here. Alderman Langdon. Here. All are present with the absence of Alderman Schmidt and Tom Grady.
Thank you. We have minutes to approve from the Administration Committee meeting of February 7th, 2022. Is there a motion? Alderman Rapella.
Thank you. I'll make the motion to approve the Administration Committee minutes of February 7th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Rapella and a second from Alderman Ted Grady to approve the minutes of February 7th. Any comments, questions, or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. We have a discussion action item this evening regarding parking ticket fine adjustment. Chief Styka, if you would like to provide a brief summary on the proposal, please.
Sure. As part of our budget hearing, we had suggested that perhaps it was time to take a look at our parking ticket fines. It's been 2017 when we introduced the T2 system that we're using right now for parking tickets that we established the current amounts for the parking ticket violations. So we did some benchmarking with Fox Crossing, Town of Menasha, Appleton, Grand Chute, UW, Oshkosh, Winnebago County, Omro, Winneconne, pretty much across the board. And it would probably take me a half hour to explain what each municipality does. It is literally across the board. Everything from the fine amounts to whether they escalate after a certain period of time, whether they escalate if there's subsequent violations. So what we really tried to do is just to try to find something that was sort of middle ground of what the other municipalities are doing. And in doing so, what we found is that the regular violations, as we're referring to them, so that's basically everything with the exception of boat launch, handicap, and overnight parking violations. So those are the ones parking too close to a fire hydrant, a crosswalk, 2-hour violations, so on and so forth. We are definitely lower than the vast majority of folks in that realm. So we were suggesting going from $10 to $15 for those violations. The summer overnight ones, we are certainly on the lower side of that with the ones that I just mentioned to you. So we were suggesting going from 10 to 15 on that as well. Then the other area that we were suggesting is because of the computer system that we have, we are able to do an escalation. So if a person has a second, third, fourth type of violation for the same violation within a 1-year calendar, 1 year from the date of the violation, they could get an additional fine because they've been in violation of that multiple times within a year. So we laid out a thing that a second violation would be a $5 increase, third would be 10, fourth would be 15, and fifth and above that would be 20. In looking at how many of those we actually had, we had 157 vehicles last year that racked up 643 tickets for multiple violations. So ideally, what our goal is to try to get compliance, and apparently the lower fine amount as well as not having it escalate, we're seeing that there's a fair amount of tickets being issued. And we're hoping that by having a tiered system that would decrease the amount of issues we have with that. And the vast majority of those would be overnight parking ones, which is probably the largest area that you folks would get phone calls about, where people are leaving their vehicles on the street and they're saying that they're never moving, so on and so forth. So that is kind of the, well, not short, but maybe not super long answer to what we are proposing. So any questions that folks may have?
Thank you. Alderman Sevenick.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move this forward to the Common Council for recommendation also of the Police Department to increase all regular parking violations as defined in the analyst section from $10 to $15, summer overnight parking from 10 to 15, the escalating system to $5 per violation, $5 per violation for the same offense over a 1-year period of time, maxing out at $20, plus the fine for the 5th and subsequent violations.
We have a motion from Alderman Sevenick and a second from Alderman Ted Grady to forward the recommendation from the police department to the common council. Alderman Langdon.
Thank you, Chair Becky. I was just wondering, Chief Stika, is there anything on here on the, I can't think of the name, Special People Park? Handicap parking.
Yeah, handicap is one of the other separate ones that's broken out. I forget what that one is. It's a lot. It's $100, something along that lines, and that one seems to be very much in line with what other folks are doing. So that is not included in what we've talked about tonight.
That's what I was learning. Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
And with that, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion from Alderman Taylor and a second from Alderman Ted Grady to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.